Okay, let's put the minister on oath. Let's administer the oath.
I, Senator Godswil Akpabio, do solemnly swear that the evidence I shall give before this honorable committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Mr. Chairman, sir. Is it possible to clear the door so that at least some air can come in here, since the air condition has failed?
Open the door, please.
No, so
Sergeant at arm, open the door. Open the door.
May I appeal to those who are there to give us chance? Find a place at the back there because we need a little bit of air here. Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the committee, should I sit or should I stand? Do I stand up or do I sit down?
No, you can address.
I can sit.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to recognize you and members of the committee on the investigation.
Honorable Minister, please, we are not going to waste much time here. What we need, you came with some documents. You lay the document before us, then speak in maybe about 10 to 15 minutes on the document. Then members will have 1 or 2 questions, then we'll be good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm a former minority leader of the Nigerian Senate, and I believe in justice. Since this proceeding started, I have seen where 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, 30 minutes, have been given to some people to pour invectives on my person as the minister. I have children. There's no way I can come before you and I'm teleguided to speak for 10 or 15 minutes. With all the allegations going around, the world is watching us. There will be no fairness at all. Now, you have been given the opportunity to sit as chairman. The former chairman has stepped aside. He should have stepped aside right from the beginning because it's part and parcel of the problem of the NDDC. So what I'm saying is, from a position I'm coming, my dear, let me just make my point. I don't know if I'm giving the floor.
You know the rules.
Mr. Chairman, we are not talking about the chairman stepping aside here. He has taken his oath. He should stick to his document if there is any. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister, please. That point of order is sustained.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, while I'm going to speak to my document, I believe that legally speaking, these proceedings ought to start de novo. Because when I came, you gave us a summary of what has transpired in the past. So long as the chairman has now recused himself, you should have started the proceedings de novo. It should have been de novo. That's the truth. Because whatever we do in the parliament,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
it is subject to judicial review. It's subject to judicial review because the reason why the chairman stepped aside was because we are alleged from the world that there will be no fairness.
Point of order.
Since the two chairmen, both in the Senate and the House of Representatives, are part and parcel of the problem of the NDDC.
Point of order.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Honourable Minister, Senator Godswil Akpabio, former governor of Akpabio. Dr. Cairo, we are not in the market square. Everybody knows. We are not in the market square. You are talking, Mr. Cairo is interrupting. Mr. Cairo, we did not call you to make any presentation. We call your MD to make presentation. In pursuance to Section 20 of Public Procurement Act. So nobody give you any room to talk. Allow the minister to talk. When it's done, whatever he intends to say. But we want him to speak to the document he came, make presentation, then we ask question. We don't have to waste time. If you want to take like 10 hours free, talk. But talk to the document. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Oh, okay. Honorable Minister, I think you heard the speaker very well. That what we are doing here has nothing to do with any situation of embarrassing anybody. Honorable Minister, please. What we are in is not intended to wish hunt anybody, and is also intended to embarrass anybody. You are from Niger Delta, the Minister of Niger Delta of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those of us this side are elected by you people. So we're here as brothers and sisters to find out what happened. So, therefore, the issue before us, we must confine ourselves to the investigation, which is the main issue before us. Whatever happened, whether we have to start de novo and all of that, is not supposed to come in, Mr. Honorable Minister. So let's start. You have the documents, present these documents, speak to the documents, then one or two questions will come in, then we are done. So we are not here to wish out anybody. So let's start with that, Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable colleagues, for the guidance. The Permanent Secretary, please avail the chairman of my own document. If you have not done so, we have sent it to the Secretariat. So I will just attempt to go through my document. First, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And the unfortunate incident notwithstanding, I thank one of your members. I don't know the name because since we are all wearing masks to the exam, it's very difficult to know who is who. I thank one of your members who cited the fact that the acting MD was almost gone. And I pray that he recovers soon. I also thank His Excellency, the Speaker, my brother Femi Gbajamila, for coming here to console with the committee over the unfortunate incident. And I pray that all of us here will not have COVID as a result of the crowded space and the lack of ventilation and the failure of the air conditioning. I was appointed Minister of the
Honorable Minister,
Delta on the 21st of August to oversee.
Honorable Minister, sir. Honorable Minister, sir, I'm sure you've not presented any document to this committee. And if you have any document, you need to present the document.
Go ahead, do that.
Honorable Ministers, this document before us is your document. And you rely on this document to speak on this document. Thank you. You can go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, may I know how many minutes I have so that I don't waste your time?
We will give you between 20 and 30 minutes.
Oh, as the chairman pleases. Thank you.
To speak to the document.
Thank you so much for the privilege. Let me start because the entire world is listening to us. As we conduct these proceedings today, some students of Niger Delta are in London protesting right now against the unpaid scholarships. So I will just quickly use 5 minutes out of my 30 minutes to mention a few things that are important to Nigerians. Number one, there is an ongoing forensic audit. Number two, the minister did not hijack the forensic audit. It is ongoing and it is going in line with due process. Number three, the process of making money in NDDC comes from two sources. One from the federal government of Nigeria through statutory allocations, and the other one from internally generated revenue that comes from the oil companies through the 3% that is allowed in the law. Number four, no staff of NDDC, to my knowledge, was sacked, because part of what you are to unravel is you said on other issues. So no staff of NDDC was sacked, to my knowledge. And even the COVID allowance that was mentioned here, so the staff that are on leave also receive the COVID allowances, and they are getting their monthly salaries. Number five, files from NDDC are not missing. They have been handed over to the forensic auditors. In fact, the first set of files to be handed over were about 8,000 files in number. Number six, the Honourable Minister, outside the oath of allegiance to the Federal Republic, has never asked anybody to swear to an oath. Number seven, the last IMC management of the Commission did not spend 8 billion. The total expenditure before the Ponde Committee that they spent was about 23 billion, which is before you, because I'm sure you have the figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Number seven, the question of official car for any management of the NDDC does not arise because they were renting vehicles at the rate of 200,000 a day, and that is part of what we want to change. And recently, Mr. President, in Council, approved that about 90 vehicles should be purchased. And for the first time in 19 years, NDDC is now going to have its own vehicles as part of the changes. The Federal Executive Council approved it recently. Number seven, Mr. Chairman, just not to waste time, I'd like to just pass a document to you. This, please, who is in charge? Mr. Chairman, I'm copy free. I have my test results. So this is a document I would like the chairman to look at. Oh, including this. Including this. Mr. Chairman, some of the allegations here is that because we watch it on television, whether from Skype or any other place, was that a former acting MD was told to take oath. I want to assure you that the document you have there was what led to the meeting in the villa, in the house of one of the presidential aides, Sariki Aba. Suddenly, a report came out on the social media that assassins were after the former managing director, and that the assassins were being sent by Dr. Cairo, Akpabio, and one Emmanuel Oduaga, not the former governor. You can see it there. Secondly, the allegation of Dr. Cairo being a murderer, and all sorts of things came out, and they came out from the former MD. So there was need for us to have a meeting to find out from her whether there was a problem or not. And in that meeting, 2 presidential aides were in attendance in the villa, and there was never any issue of oath. There was never any issue of oath taking to be loyal to the minister or for allegiance, or to sponsor presidential ambition or other. And Mr. Chairman, just for the notice of the committee, I have no presidential ambition. Then, as part of my 5 minutes, before I go into my real presentation, there was no time at all, Mr. Chairman, that we had a budget when I came in. There was no budget. And as a senator of the Federal Republic and a former minority leader, I know what that means. That means that we cannot spend money unless there is a budget. So the 2019 budget of the NDDC was not available. And we were late because the law, the NDDC Act, enjoins us to submit the next year's budget every 30th of September, at least before the 30th of September. And in the past, those things were not done. So there was no way the minister could have asked any MD or any staff to go and bring 10 billion naira to share in December. That allegation is false and is from the pit of hell. Having said that, Mr. Chairman, let me thank you and members of the committee for what you are doing. The reason I'm thanking you is because this is part of what will bring change to the Niger Delta region. As a Niger Delta, you will agree with me that with the quantum of money that has gone into the region, what we have on ground is not commensurate with that amount. And so definitely there is need for us to do this kind of thing. The only thing is that while I was watching there, I was just asking myself, how come past parliaments did not see the need to do what they are doing? How I wish that others were doing what they are doing now, right from 2001, we will not be in this mess, where NDDC will stay for 19 years without even an office, or where they will stay for 7 to 8 years without that same office they are occupying, rented, being connected to the national grid. So, Mr. Chairman, honorable members, I sincerely thank you, and I will attempt to respond to the alleged malfeasance and other activities in the Niger Delta Development Commission, if any. The first thing that came out in the press, Mr. Chairman, was that 40 billion naira was missing. I took time to explain that 40 billion naira cannot miss from the account of the NDDC, because the account of the NDDC now, under President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, is domiciled in the Central Bank of Nigeria. But before this administration, this APC administration came to cleanse the system, NDDC had over 311 accounts. There are over 500 accounts. So in 300 accounts in various banks, there were possibilities of some money missing. And so that could have happened at that time. But today, we operate the TSA account. The CBN has the account details and they are available to you with the Office of the Accountant General. So I want to state emphatically that no 40 billion is missing. Unfortunately, people have done a lot of mudslinging, character assassination, and people have done a lot of social media judgment on the person of the minister and all that. I want to state, sir, that those things are false. You will see where the money went to, the projects that were paid for one after the other, and that not one naira was paid to the minister. And the minister has never done a contract in the NDDC. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to say that as a Niger Deltan, you and I must be very concerned about the future of our region. And that is why you are giving me this opportunity to speak. Now, having appreciated you, I want to recall some of the fond memories that I shared with a number of you here. I have seen a lot of you when I was in the Senate, in the 8th Senate of the Federal Republic, as the minority leader and a principal officer. And Chairman, I thought that the moment you cited me, you would have called me to speak first. Maybe by that time, Ponde would have had at least time to go and get some air outside. And then what happened would not have happened. But it's good that I'm speaking now. And I thank the minister for that. I thank the speaker for this opportunity. To this day, I have endeavored to discharge my responsibilities together with my colleague, the Honourable Minister of State, Senator Tayo Alashadura, and the Permanent Secretary. I have done that with a lot of zeal, the same way I did when I was the governor of Akpabio State between 2007 and 2015. The propelling force driving me is to bequeath a legacy that future generations of Niger Deltans will be very proud of. This philosophy, Mr. Chairman, has guided my stewardship in my ministry. And we have, by the way, we have achieved a lot in the Ministry of Niger Delta, outside just the NDDC. In spite of what has happened in recent past of social media condemnation and attack, to situate everything in proper context, the governors of the 9 states of the Niger Delta region, at a meeting with Mr. President on the 20th of October 2019, requested for, and Mr. President approved, the commencement of forensic audit of the Niger Delta Development Commission to find out why this child is a stunted child 19 years after, and why it has not achieved much for the region, and where the money that have been appropriated year in, year out are gone to. So that process, prior to this directive of Mr. President for the conduct of this forensic audit, Mr. President had done the following. He delegated to the Honourable Minister of Niger Delta the powers and duties conferred on the President in Section 7, Subsection 3 of the Niger Delta Development Commission Act. He also approved the confinement of the Niger Delta Development Commission as a parastatal in the ministry, under the Ministry of the Niger Delta. He also approved the suspension of the composition of a proposed board for the Niger Delta Development Commission in the year 2019 until the conclusion of the city. He thereafter approved the constitution of a 3-man interim management committee headed by the erstwhile acting managing director, which was now expanded to 5. Now, the estimated cost for the forensic audit was put at about 2.5 billion naira. Mr. President also approved that should be reflected in the 2019 budget of the NDDC and should be settled by the NDDC. The composition of the board for the NDDC in 2019 was put on hold by Mr. President until the conclusion of this forensic audit. Now, the Honorable Committee is adequately informed that a component part of the NDC budget comes from the annual national appropriation as a single line route, and of which the 2020 Appropriation Act, signed into law by the President on Tuesday, December 17, 2019. No, this was 2020. Mr. Chairman, just a slight correction because it's on your record. 2020. It actually went into force on 1st of January. However, in 2019, which was what we were asking about in terms of budget, the federal government had made provision for 100 billion for the NDDC as statutory transfers. Out of this 100 billion, at least to my knowledge to date, the federal government has remitted the sum of 71 billion 195 million 23,528 naira and 62 kobo to the NDDC for the activities. That is in terms of the 2019, out of the 100 billion that was appropriated for them. So the President approved the funding of the forensic audit exercise by the estimated total cost of 2.5 billion. And that was to be sourced from the budget of the NDDC. Now, the processes leading to the final award of contract for the lead consultant of the forensic audit was only completed in March 2020. And at that time, luckily, Mr. Chairman, the 2019 budget of the NDDC was passed by the two houses. So that is when we now proceeded to give the letter of award. And then, Mr. Chairman, I'm sure they must have corrected it for you. The clerk of the National Assembly, whilst conveying the letter to us and the NDDC through the office of the SGF, actually conveyed passage of budget of 2020. But listening to the news, I knew it was passage of budget of 2019. That document should be before you now. I don't know why somehow we almost glossed over it, because I think that was a major problem that probably led to deceit. It was conveyed as budget of 2020 instead of budget of 2019. I understand from the acting managing director that just last week Friday that he showed it to you, to your committee, and they contacted the clerk, and that was corrected just this last week Friday. I don't want to speak into speculation, but I'm talking of, I have the documents attached there. So, Mr. Chairman, on the passage of your 2019 budget for the NDDC, statutory appropriation, which was just passed February, concluded on the 4th and 5th by the two houses. I believe the NDDC now had a budget of 2019, and this is done in 2020. But that budget was to end on the 31st of May. A lot of underground current went into it. I will make my recommendation to the committee before I go. So, because by the time the budget was finally released by the two chairmen, the chairman of the Senate and the chairman of the House, to the NDDC, it was less than the 6 weeks required for even advertisement and procedure for contracts. So, I don't think that budget has been implemented. On the passage of that budget, we realized that provision was made by you. By you, I mean both the Senate and National Assembly, in the sum of 1,250,000,000 naira for the forensic audit, and passed by the two houses, as I said earlier, on 4th and 5th, respectively. The clerk to the National Assembly, in the letter he forwarded to us, unfortunately forwarded it as 2020 budget. So we had no reason to doubt the clerk, because that stayed from that March until last week, when we understand that the acting managing director had to try to show the letter to some of your colleagues, and they said no. So they took it from him and took it to the clerk's office, and they now changed it for him and gave 2019. I haven't seen it yet, but that's what he told me here when I was coming. But that is what they had. So I think some of the issues here, the confusion as the 2020 budget and 2019 budget arose from there. So, Mr. Chairman, the acting managing director of the commission, through a letter dated December 6, 2019, I have attached a copy, transmitted to the Bureau of Public Procurement, pre-qualification, technical and financial documents of Messrs. Jegrali Limited for the commencement of the forensic audit, for the Bureau of Public Procurement to appoint Messrs. Jegrali as the lead consultant to procure and recruit the forensic auditors. I'll summarize it. Mr. Jegrali was found not to possess the requisite qualifications as chartered accountants and chartered forensic auditors to undertake the exercise. Thereafter, by a letter dated December 30, 2019, a copy is also attached for your reference, sir. The NDDC now immediately transmitted another letter for pre-qualification to the Bureau of Public Procurement. I mean, I'm talking about the stages. And of course, this time around, technical and financial reviews were done. And Messrs. Olumiliwa, Bashiru and Co. were now given certificate of no objection to act as forensic auditors, the lead forensic auditors for the commission. But initially they asked for 335 million, but what was approved by the BBP, because you need to be briefed. It's an opportunity for me to brief you on the forensic, was about 380 million. And I took that letter to the Federal Executive Council.
Sorry, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister, sir.
Yes.
Sorry. You have about 2 more minutes. So can you dwell on the more on the procurement, on the forensic auditors, and the procurement and the forensic audit?
That's what I'm telling you, sir.
Because we have just only 2 minutes.
Okay, if I have 2 minutes, then yes. I just want to say that I have attached the documentation. We have concluded with the Bureau of Public Procurement. The forensic auditors, the lead consultants have started work, and then the forensic is ongoing. We have now concluded with the Bureau of Public Procurement for the state forensic auditors, because we divided them into 10 lots. So we have the headquarters, which should be handled by an international firm, NS Young or NS and Young. I don't know how they pronounce it, NS Young, but they are among the 5 in the world. KPMG and others could not come because they were already advisors to NDDC. Pricewaterhouse did not submit their financial tenders. So NS and Young has been approved by the BPP, in addition to about 8 other companies right now. And so we presented it to the Federal Executive Council, and it will be represented to the Federal Executive Council, because it was only the international organization, the international auditing firm that was left. We have gone through all due processes. So I have all the documentations here to give you back and forth to show that we went through all. So, Mr. Chairman, let me quickly say that I've attached all the annexures for you to look at. In line with the mandate, the lead forensic auditors have concluded their work, and we are on course right now. I believe that the Federal Executive Council will soon give approval for the states to start. What was the cause of the delay? No budget, and also this COVID-19 with the state lockdown. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have been on the road in the states right now, but the headquarters had already started. The forensic audit of the headquarters has started. As soon as that started, hell was let loose, as expected. Nobody should expect that after 19 years of rot, that anybody would be happy to be audited, because trillions are involved. So, Mr. Chairman, as you requested documents, we attached Bureau of Public Procurement documents of certificate of no objection for lead consultant and response of BPP in that regard. Criteria used for the appointment of members of the Interim Management Committee. It is an exercise of the powers conferred on the President. Then, of course, the Minister's statutory powers and duties miscellaneous provisions act, which I believe is embedded in your bosom as lawmakers, is also attached, which says, subject to the provisions of this section, the President may, in any law enacted by the National Assembly or having effect as if it had been so enacted, by order make such modifications, whether by means of addition, substitution, or deletion as he may think fit, for the purpose of 1. Transferring to a minister any of the powers and duties which are by such law directly or indirectly conferred or imposed on the President or any public officer, or which are conferred upon any other minister, making provisions consequential or incidental thereto, and other made under this section may include directions either of general nature or otherwise. Since the law is already, before you have quoted the law, I'm sure I'll leave it, you'll go through that section. A law which has been modified and in accordance with an order made under this section shall be deemed for all purposes to have been amended in accordance with such modifications. Let me say, we also have attached for you the administrative guidelines regulating the relationship between parastatals, government-owned companies, and the government itself. So, to come to the NDDC, sir, first, the job of the minister is to supervise the activities of the NDDC, not to run the NDDC. Now, I also found out that by practice, it is only when expenditure is up to 1 billion naira, that is when it is referred to the minister. And by our own federal regulation, by the Bureau of Public Procurement Act, the minister is enjoined to approach the president and approach the Federal Executive Council. So since I came on board, only 3 contracts have been awarded. The first contract is the appointment of the lead forensic auditor. The second contract is the fact that they don't have vehicles, and if we have to change the modus operandi of the NDDC, we must make sure that they have vehicles and not to rent and spend billions. So the President in Council approved in 2 batches the purchase of about 90 vehicles for the NDDC. Even in this difficult time, he has to bend backwards, and I thank the President for that. Now, that is the second contract. That went through the Bureau of Public Procurement and had a no objection, and of course, it went to the Federal Executive Council. The third contract is this COVID contract. The COVID contract was treated as an emergency, and we're relying on your law, Section 42, subsection A and B, and thereafter we'll make returns to the Bureau of Public Procurement under Section 43, subsection 4 of the law. So those are the only 3 contracts. Outside that, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I have never approved a single contract, not even 1 kilometer, for the NDDC since I became a minister. Because, one, there was no budget, and when the budget came, there was no time to ensure proper procurement. Now, on the expenses that you are hearing about, most of the expenses, according to them, are historical debt. But one thing is certain. If it was possible for them to pass the expenses through my office, I probably would have questioned some, as you are questioning. But this is what has been happening in the NDDC. Number one is that they do not even go beyond 250 million, which is within the management threshold. So their contracts are divided into lots. They can have up to 75 lots, and you come under 250, 250. In fact, in the chairman's, the permanent chairman of your committee, the contract that was given, which we have seen dated 4th or thereabout, for his own area, for the roads around his place in Ore, amounting to 10.9 billion, was divided into about 13 lots of 950 each, so that it will not come to the minister. So those documents are some of the documents presented.
Minister.
No, I'm talking about what is already before you. You have them. So it did not come to the minister. So, sir, all the expenses, I'm coming, sir. These expenses are important to explain to you. So all the expenses met so far, only one that I can say that I approved, and that was the expenses on this COVID-19 emergency. And thereafter, I took it to Mr. President, and Mr. President also approved. And in line with the law, it is ongoing. When it is completed, returns must be made to the Bureau of Public Procurement. So we have not in any way infringed upon the law. I want to make a final statement, sir, that one of the things you and I must change in NDDC is, number one, we must not allow this line item alone to come before the Parliament. When you approve 50 billion for health and 80 billion for education, and then you say total 600 billion, then you drop the gavel, the 2 chairmen of the House and the Senate will carry it to Hilton, and only the clerks of the committees will be there. At this stage, no Niger Delta, the plight of Niger Delta people are left to 2 chairmen. And then they will now balkanize the budget to a point where nothing has been achieved in 19 years. Now, I give you an example, sir. Recently, no, you need to hear me. Recently, I'm not even talking about the accusation made against me.
Extra 10 minutes outside your time.
Thank you, sir. I want to help you so that we can move the region forward.
Just conclude, sir.
Just one more thing.
Yeah.
There are two things I want you to change. Number one, the budgeting process that comes before you should come with the details. If it does come with the details, it means that what the input of Niger Deltans will be in the details. You cannot leave the entire region to only 2 people. We put in 1.3 billion to pay to International Food and Drugs and Agricultural Organization.
It's okay.
To get
It's okay.
$126 million.
Honorable Minister, it's
but
okay.
that was removed and only 100 million was put in
It's
2019. Okay. So the region lost $126 million.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
The second thing, sir, is this bargainization of the expenses of NDDC. Beyond
point of order.
Below.
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
I thought we should also provide solution.
I have the floor, Honourable Minister.
Okay, I'll wait for your questions.
I have the floor. The reason why I raised this point of order is on the chairman is to preside this issue. And by our ruling, by our order, by our laws in the parliament, section rule 10 is explicit. Honourable Minister, please off your phone. The chairman has been calling you that it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You are a senator.
When the chairman says
sorry,
it's okay,
sorry,
you
Honourable
forget
Minister.
that the world is watching us.
Sorry, Honourable Minister.
You think it's okay?
Honourable Minister, sorry, off your mic, please. Honourable Minister, we have been talking and saying, you know the rules of the House. As a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you know the rules. We shouldn't have to be crowded and turn this place to be a marketplace. The chairman has been calling you, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, you don't want to stop. It's okay, chairman, please. Honourable Minister, please.
The chairman, may I say I'm sorry? Because of the fund, I didn't know you were saying it's okay.
Honourable Minister, it's okay, please.
Are you saying I should stop talking?
Yes. That's what he said.
Then I thank you.
That's what he said.
I didn't hear the fan is making noise and your air conditioner is not working, so I have stopped. Thank you for the opportunity.
Honourable Minister, thank you very much. Thank you for your beautiful presentation that you have made, and we thank you very much. These are some of the things we are talking about. Just to come and share light on what you have here, just to share light. And that's exactly what I've done. So you will be expecting to get some questions from our members. You can also address this question. So that is it. So question number 1, Ben Kalu, take the lead and ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate the Minister for your patience all this while. And we also remember what you did in Akpabio State as an uncommon governor. We are hoping that in NDDC, something that has been uncommon will be commonized. Mr. Minister, I want to ask, in addition to your role as a supervising minister of the Niger Delta, have you ever influenced or exercised the powers of the managing director of the commission in any way? I want it to be interactive. I have about 3 questions for you.
Is whether I've ever acted as MD?
In addition to your role as the supervisory minister, have you at any time influenced or exercised the powers of the managing director of the commission?
Whether I've ever influenced the power of the honourable minister?
That is what I said. Powers of the MD of the commission.
Whether have you stopped it?
I'm saying, have you at any time, in addition to your supervising role, have you at any time influenced or exercised the powers of the MD and CEO of the commission in any way?
Well, if in any way I find out that the MD CEO is not going in the interest of Niger Delta, I will intervene. For instance, I had to do that once. When I heard about the payment of Lassa FIFA, I called and I found out that they had paid the sum of 2.9 billion and they were about to pay another 972 million. I had to intervene and I said they should not because there was no budget at that time. And so the contractor wrote to me And
thank you.
I should approve the balance of 932.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
No,
I did not ask. No, excuse me. So,
let me give you the letter from
your
the
explanation is that in addition to your supervising role, that you sometimes influence the action of the MD.
My answer is that.
Next question.
No, sorry.
The next question is.
You didn't hear what I said. My answer is that where this commission is going wrong.
We have gotten your answer. The next question is.
Honorable Minister, when questions are asked by member, go directly answer the question, please.
I will try my best, sir.
Yes.
But maybe the fan I'm not hearing well. You know the way we are dressed like masquerades now.
Ben, can you go ahead?
Does this intervention that you do, like you have accepted that you do from time to time, include asking and receiving 30 files from the office of the MD, 30 files, as alleged by the MD? And those 30 files had to do with desilting without the knowledge of the former acting MD, because she alleged when she testified.
May I answer that? It does not include that. Many files were, almost 100 and something files, were given to the executive director by the MD when the report of arson reached the police, and the Commissioner of Police in Rivers had to personally visit the office. The people who are afraid of the forensic were going to burn down.
So you are in custody of the files. Okay, next question.
The files were taken to self-custody, and the files have been handed over to the forensic
with your permission, without the knowledge of the MD.
No,
next question.
Not without the knowledge of the MD.
What was your role in the approval of 5.8 billion for relief and palliative to flooded communities under the EHSS Directorate, despite the fact that there was no budget appropriation for such expenditure?
I'm not even aware that such contract has been given. I explained something to the honourable member. Please listen. What happens is that each contractor has over 50 companies. So when they are giving these contracts, they go under. Okay, since you want to hear, since you want to know, let me give you a document. I'm not supposed to, but let me give you. Now, this document I'm giving to you to look at. You may return it to me. It's evidence of what has been going on in the Niger Delta Development Commission, which is why you are sitting. This is a document in one day, where the NDDC, in a management meeting, purportedly gave money within the threshold of the MD, 49 million, and they withdrew cash of 4.2 billion in a day. It is here, and the account numbers are here.
Did you tender this document?
Yeah.
Did you tender this document in evidence?
You know, you are doing this.
Honourable Minister, did you tender it?
Sorry, sir. You are doing this at the period when there is forensic going on. These documents are before the forensic auditors. Even what you are bringing out now will also help us in the forensic.
Okay, we take it that you did not tender it, and since you're under, we wish that at the right time you tender it. Let me ask you next question.
Honourable
Minister, let me ask you next question.
Right, Honourable. From your question, you don't want to know the truth about NDDC?
How? That's why we're asking you the question.
No, if you're asking me a question.
No, but you're running around. You're not going straight to the question.
I'm not running around. I'm giving you facts.
Minister, Honourable Minister.
Chairman,
please,
don't you want to take a look at what happens in NDDC? How would the minister know? If you give a contract of 5 billion and you split it into 100 million, it doesn't come to the minister.
Okay, let's ask you other questions. If that one is difficult to answer, let's go to the next question. Honourable Minister, your ministry applied for the approval of certificate of no objection via your letter dated 30th of December 2019 for the lead forensic auditor. Please, can you tell this committee the constitutional or the statutory provision that allows supervising minister of an agency to seek procurement approval on behalf of the procuring entity that is also paying for the procurement? If not, that this is an action that is usurping the function of the agency. Can you explain, please?
Did you do that? Well, let me tell you. Number one, the directive.
Please, can you stop the
No agency can go to Federal Executive Council without the supervising ministry. So, what happened in this case is that it is the NDDC that eventually became the procuring agency, because initially we thought the federal government was going to pay for the forensic. But when the approval of Mr. President came out, it turned out that the NDDC should pay. And so that letter was withdrawn. We had even gone to the Federal Tenders Journal and advertised for bids. But unfortunately, when the approval of the President came, the President directed that NDDC should pay for it. So automatically, NDDC became the procuring agency. That letter is no longer operational.
So you are saying in essence that the ministry did that function that's supposed to be done by the commission. Next question. Are you aware that BPP came here and declared the approval you obtained as a nullity when they appeared before us because they were misled in giving that approval based on the fiscal year 2020 budget? Are you aware that they came here and they said that approval that was given is a nullity because they were deceived? Are you aware of that? I
will tell you that if they said so, then they are wrong. Because I told you that there are two sources of revenue for NDDC. By the time you are talking, on the 17th of December, the President had already approved the statutory allocation that will go to NDDC. NDDC has what I may call recurrent expenditure, salaries and other emoluments of a total of about 23 billion in a year. But the federal government makes provision for 80 billion. In 2018, I think it was 88 billion. 2019 was 80 billion. Then as at 1st December, it was another 80 billion. So there is no time we can go to Federal Executive Council without a budget. And in any case, the law allows you to start your procurement process, but you don't conclude it. You don't finalize it with any award until you have the money in the funds to pay for it. That is why even that award was not finalized until March after the NDDC budget came out.
Thank you, Minister. Let me ask you again. The purpose of the IMC was to conduct the forensic auditing.
No. The purpose of the IMC
has the forensic auditing started.
The forensic audit has started a long time ago. By the way, the purpose of the IMC was not. This was a fundamental disagreement with the former acting managing director. The purpose of the IMC was to ensure impartiality, because at that time we had a director in the agency who had been there for 28 years, right from the days of one Padek. You cannot tell a director to sit in judgment over his own case, just like your chairman had to recuse himself.
So FEC has approved the appointment? The procurement, has FEC approved the appointment?
The Federal Executive Council has approved the appointment of the lead forensic auditors. And the Bureau of Public Procurement today has approved, has given no objection to the 9 that will go to state.
When was this approval from FEC?
Okay, Honorable Ben. It's attached to your document, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm done. I'm not done, but I will.
Ben, that's okay. That's okay. Who's the next? Okay. Okay, Honorable Eden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues, Honorable Minister, and our invited guests. Honorable Minister, you talked about subvention that is going on in NDDC, and that is contract splitting, where certain amounts of money that are supposed to come to your office by virtue of the Act, the management of NDDC, they now use their power to split the contracts, to their threshold, what they can approve within their confines. So I just want to find out if there is anything that you have done to address this, to stop future occurrence.
Yes. Number one, I will need, Mr. Chairman, this question is very germane. I will need the cooperation of the National Assembly for us to stop this contract splitting and to reposition the agency. One of the things I've done is that there was a contract of 5.5 billion given to a company called Signora, which did not pass through my office. I had to intervene, and that contract was cancelled. And then they wrote a letter to me, and what came to me included palliative, total of 6.25 billion. I now wrote to Mr. President, and Mr. President approved it, and it was announced nationally. Because the people of Niger Delta deserve transparency. So when you go and split the contract into 150 companies, and then it comes to 10 billion, 20 billion, the people will not know that such contracts are given. So I've done something about it. That's why I said out of the 3 contracts I've given, one of them is the one approved by Mr. President, which I said we can no longer allow contract splitting. The papers I have here show that sometimes they take out 25 billion, under 49 million, 49 million, 49 million, 49 million, 49 million, and the total of 249. There's no contract in NDDC, even if you hear 10 billion, that goes to the minister. So they can spend 400 billion. We need the cooperation of the parliament. And this is where it is very important that the parliament comes in. Because if you go to court, the court may say it is not illegal, the laws are not illegal, but Chairman Ojo, are you going to ask me a question?
Honorable Minister, sir. Honorable Minister, you have shed light on it. Let's move forward.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a follow-up question, Honorable Minister. You made mention. He's distracted. Honorable Minister.
Go ahead.
Minister, thank you.
Honorable Member, go ahead.
Yes, you made mention that at some point in time you had to stop payment for the Lassa fever initiative. My question is this. Are you aware that between the 8th and 9th of July, in the span of 24 hours, payments of 4.8 billion were made to companies? 4.8 billion were made to companies.
For what?
Payments for desilting.
For
just this 2 weeks ago, between 8th and 9th of July 2020, 4.8 billion.
I may not know, but
payments.
you see.
And then secondly, my second question is, on the 17th, just Friday, a company was paid 691 million while this investigative hearing was going on. Are you aware of those payments?
No. I don't have to be aware of the payments. You know why? Because of the same thing. I said contracts are done below 1 billion naira. So any contract, and again, all these are historical debts.
Payments, not award. Payments.
No, payments, that is what you are investigating now. That's why I was telling you that no money is missing, that payments are actually being made to contractors who did jobs. All I insisted was that they must go and evaluate and verify the contracts before they make any payment, if they have to settle historical debts. Yeah, but why they cannot come to me?
Very well, Honorable Minister. Very well. I appreciate when you said that the only contracts you took to FEC were just 3 since all this time. One for forensic audit, which was approved. And I am aware that that is in the 2019 budget of the NDDC. The one for the 90 vehicles and the COVID, which you also sent to the Federal Executive Council. From what you said, you knew that there was no budgetary backing for these 2 projects, but yet you went to FEC for them to get approval. That's what you said. Well, and ordinarily, every expenditure must have a budgetary backing. That's what you said. Just to confirm that.
It will surprise you to know that the 2019 budget had almost 11 billion for COVID. And what was taken to Mr. President for approval was only 6.7 billion. It will also surprise you to know that the idea of the contract for the procurement of vehicles went through the Bureau of Public Procurement, which must have done due diligence on the budget, together with the budget, before we presented it to Federal Executive Council. They have their templates. So when something has passed through the Bureau of Public Procurement, it is my job to present it to the Federal Executive Council, because they have their own criteria. They are very thorough.
The point is made, Honorable Minister. The point is made.
Okay. Honorable Ben Bakwa.
Honorable Minister, our common leader, you have consistently affirmed that you have only supervised 3 awards, 3 contracts. Is that correct? That you have only supervised 3 contract awards. I think he's not hearing me. Honorable Minister, you said you have only supervised 3 awards.
I'm saying that I have only taken part in three contracts awards only.
Okay.
Not even a kilometer of road outside those three.
Don't worry,
and
that's
they went
what I want
through
to
due
know.
process.
Are these projects?
And then, by the way, the last question that my brother asked.
Excuse me.
No, hold on.
The vehicles are in the budget of 2000.
Honorable Minister, I have the floor.
Please,
and these projects are procurement of lead consultant of the forensic audit, emergency procurement of COVID-19, and vehicle procurement. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are they carried out with 2019 budget or 2020 budget?
As at the time that the...
Are they carried out with 2019 or 2020 budget?
Well, first of all, the 2020 budget, sorry, the 2019 budget
Honorable
was
Minister,
in operation.
Honorable Minister, sir, with due respect, answer the question direct.
Sorry, I told you...
The direct question.
Please. Mr. Chairman, the conditions where we are in now does not require bullying. With due respect, because what I'm saying
we are not bullying you, Honorable Minister. Answer the question direct.
Okay, you are respecting me.
Honorable Minister,
thank you for the respect.
You are my leader.
If I don't
an
hear,
uncommon leader. So I won't ask you something that is not good.
You can repeat after him.
Okay.
So what you are saying is that I was involved in 3 contracts, right?
Yes, that's what
I said.
said.
So far, the 3 contracts, 2 of them went through the Federal Executive Council. The Bureau of Public Procurement approved 2 of them. 1 is a vehicle.
Were they carried out based on the 2019 or 2020 budget?
As at the time these things were done, they were all in the 2019 budget.
Can you give us...
the letter that you conveyed from the National Assembly was 2020 budget. So
can you give us the budget line in your 2019 budget?
Hello?
You have the budget with you. Can you give us the budget line expressly stating these projects or programs?
Sorry, I don't run the NDDC. The executive director is here. He can give you the budget line.
So in essence, you don't know, but you supervise it.
They concluded the arrangement with the PPP before they wrote to my office.
My question is this.
Do you know the budget
Beautiful
line?
as you have presented it.
Please, they'll provide it to you.
Can you listen, sir?
If you want the budget line, they will provide it to you.
Just give me time,
Honorable Minister, please.
Listen, sir.
If I ask you listen and you heard questions,
you have 2 questions,
you can answer.
And I'm going to give you the 2. Since you are a former lawmaker, a lawyer, a former governor, who is very passionate about the Niger Delta region, knowing fully well that the BPP Act provides for every project, every procurement must be appropriation backed. Is it good to confirm that you misled the BPP and the Federal Executive Council to approve or give you the certificate of no objection? That is 1. Then 2, with your common knowledge of the region, a former governor who has a certificate of uncommon performance, today, with your love for the region, what will you tell us now? The status of the audit, the forensic audit, bearing in mind as a lawyer that you cannot put something on nothing, because the procurement ab initio is faulty and fraudulent.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry, may I plead with you not to use the word fraudulent? I mentioned to you that there are 2 sources of revenue to the NDDC. One is from federal allocation, and the other one is from the internally generated revenue from the oil companies. There is no way you can go and start procurement process or even obtain procurement. The award of the procurement letter for the forensic audit was given at the time you had appropriated 1.25 billion. So how can that be fraudulent? You have passed the budget in both houses on the 4th and the 5th, and the letter is dated 12th of March. How can that be fraudulent? You start procurement processes, but until you have money, you cannot give an award letter. Are you telling me that the Bureau of Public Procurement will commit fraud? Are you saying that they will not go through due diligence before they give a certificate of no objection?
Honorable
please,
Minister.
may I please that he withdraws the word fraudulent?
Because
we must respect each other.
Please.
No. Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman.
May I plead that the member withdraws that word fraudulent?
No, Honorable
You cannot say that the award that passed through Bureau of Public Procurement passed through Federal Executive Council was
Honorable Minister, we progress because before you, there were a lot of agencies that have come before this committee.
But that's to your knowledge.
Yes.
Not to my knowledge.
DPP have their own position in respect to this issue. So let's leave it. All about it.
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Minister, my questions will be very short and simple. I will not delve into contract or money issue, but I want to ask you on what I consider conflict of interest and based on the law. Honorable Minister, I'm going to specifically Part 4 miscellaneous and Section 21 of the Act. You are the supervising minister, correct, sir? You are also the monitoring agent of NDDC, sir. You are also supposed to sit at the affairs of NDDC. 21 says about presidential monitoring team to monitor the affairs and runnings of NDDC. Mr. Chairman, if I may read, said 1, monitor the management of the funds of the Commission and implementation of the projects of the Commission. 2, have access to the books of accounts and other records of the Commission at all times and submit periodical report to the Presidency Commander-in-Chief. Minister, my worry is that you are also supervising the auditors, forensic or otherwise. That is 3 in 1. Does it not amount to conflict of interest that you, your PAMSEC, Director of Projects, and the likes of, are now the presidential monitoring team monitoring the activities of NDDC? On the other side, you also give policy directions and guidelines to NDDC. Does it not amount to being the goalkeeper, being the striker, being the referee? Thank you.
Well, honorable member, my brother, sir, you are not totally right. If you know why NDDC is where it is today, you will know that it is because of lack of proper monitoring, lack of proper supervision. You just saw a lacuna where a contract of over 4 billion could be given out and the minister has no single idea. The only nexus in the law that can bring the minister to know what is going on and even request book of accounts is through the PMC, the Presidential Monitoring Committee. If the minister cannot ask the NDDC to bring its expenses for scrutiny, then it means that the minister can stay for 4 years and they will spend over 1 trillion and the minister will not know. This is the reason why it is important that the minister should really be appointed as the chairman of the Presidential Monitoring Committee so that he can have access to the daily expenses of the NDDC or weekly expenses or monthly expenses. Otherwise, you will not even be properly briefed. Because it's my responsibility to brief you as a committee of the NDDC from time to time. I gave you a very small example that almost 1.1 trillion contracts were given out by the administration of Braibanfa and over 280 billion were paid out. But the minister did not know because these things are done below the threshold of the minister and under the radar of 250 million. If we must change Niger Delta, we must leave semantics. We must look at the real issues and see how we can tinker with the policies and all that. And that is why this forensic audit is the answer. Because the forensic audit at the end.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
One question. We'll come to you. One question.
Mr. Chairman, my fellow colleagues, Honorable Minister, you get the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
So I have the floor.
Let it just do.
Honorable Minister, sir, may I ask you, sir, pursuant to provision of Section 85, Sub 3 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, if it's in order for you to have engaged a forensic auditor, that is one. Two, and even if you have to, the Constitution lays the foundation clearly, issues burden on remuneration, and even the auditors should engage. Did you relate or consult with the Auditor General of the Federation? Please take note. Another question I want to ask Honorable Minister, as a learned lawyer, sir, is if IMC is known to the law, if IMC, Interim Management Committee, if it is known to the law, in view of the provision of the Niger Delta Development Commission Establishment Act, Section 2, is it not an aberration to have IMC in place? Because, in my opinion, this is the cause of this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me start from the aspect of the IMC. The Nigerian Constitution gives the powers to the President that he who can appoint in substantive position can also appoint in interim position. 2. Section 7, subsection 3 of the NDDC Act gives the President the power of control, the power of supervision, and the power of guidance over the Niger Delta Development Commission. 3. The Niger Delta Development Commission did not start today to have interim management. In fact, they have had sole administrators, up to 2 or 3 in the past. This IMC did not start now. It started even in the days of Timi Alaibe, as far back as 2002, 2003, when even when Akpabio left. What they had was interim management. They've had so many. The President has the power to appoint somebody in substantive position, according to the Constitution. He also has the power to do so in acting capacity. And then, of course, they are acting. And again, he has the power of total control of the NDDC to give power of supervision and guidance. Look at your Section 3, Section 7, subsection 3 very well. So, and then also look at the Constitution. I can't quote right now because I don't want to make mistakes since I'm under oath. But I think if you look at maybe Section 148 and all that, you even see a place where the Constitution gives power to the President to hand over any parasata to the Vice President or to a minister. And then, of course, from there, they have the authority. And I also mentioned the administrative guidelines to you. I've attached everything. Please, when you go through my depositions, which is on oath, when you look through those things, all those questions you're asking will be answered.
It's okay. Finally, Honorable Minister, sir. Honorable Minister, I've perused I'm not in agreement with your submission, Honorable Minister. I have perused the Act setting up NDDC. I have not seen anywhere in the Act where you have a role to play. That is one. Secondly, sir, when you look at provision Section 20 of Public Procurement Act, I am worried.
Sorry?
When you look at the provisions of the Public Procurement Act, Section 20 and 21, I'm a bit worried that you are playing some roles which ordinarily should have been taken by the Chief Accounting Officer of the agency. Even assuming without considering that you have contracts above the threshold of NDDC that will go to the FEC, the Act clearly places responsibility on the shoulder of the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry. I'm saying this with due respect, sir, that you are now looking as if you are the image of NDDC, as if you are the Chief Executive Officer of NDDC, which is not.
As if,
sir,
sorry.
as if you are the way the public perceive, or I and some members of the Parliament perceive as if you are the MD of NDDC. Whereas in actual fact, Section 2 settles who should do what. It is the CEO that the Act mandates to ensure compliance with the provisions of Public Procurement Act. And sir, from what has been presented here, there are very clear indication that this act has been rigged severally. And the consequences are anchored under Section 58(5). Thank you.
Sorry, may I inform you, sir, that it is the NDDC that procured the forensic auditors. If you look at the letters to the Bureau of Public Procurement, the NDDC, because it was now the agency to do the payment, we had to discontinue from the ministry when Mr. President approved that the money should be paid from NDDC. So the Act clearly says that it is the agency that is paying that must do the procurement. All the letters to Bureau of Public Procurement went straight from the NDDC to the Bureau of Public Procurement. But in forwarding the letters, they sometimes pass it through the supervising minister and also copy the NDDC. So it is not the minister that does the procurement. And by the way, we have the concurrence of the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation in writing to undertake the forensic audit.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs and our guests. The Honorable Minister, my question is very simple. The essence of your appointment as one of the most performed governor in the region was to go and right the wrongs associated with NDDC in the past. And these wrongs emanated or ranges from contract splitting, abandon of projects, overpriced contracts, and these have actually led to billions of naira projects abandoned in the Niger Delta area. Today, you have taken the mantle of leadership to actually right this wrong. My question now is, within your period as a minister, did you pay for any emergency repair or emergency rehabilitation of roads? And if you supervise the payment, because you can pay, you are only supervising the NDDC. If you supervise such payment, what are the measures you applied in order to make sure that those anomalies observed in the past were not actually seen during your own administration? Thank you very much.
Well, I must say that I thank you for the question. For me, the NDDC must change. And I'm delighted that Mr. President gave me this opportunity. When I became a minister, I did not know which ministry I was going to go into. One of the things I did was to ensure that they did proper evaluation and verification. In some of those instances, you see that somebody who had a contract of 1 billion, at the end, what they paid out ended up being 400 or 300. We bought equipment for them to make sure that when they go to site, they evaluate and assess exactly what is on ground before they do any payment. So some of the contractors lost over 40% of the initial contract value. In fact, in about 10 to 14 contracts, the NDDC saved 1.6 billion when they were doing their payments. But don't forget, like I said, these payments for now cannot come towards the minister because almost all the projects of NDDC were done under the threshold of ministerial approval. So my job as a minister is to observe what went wrong, work with the forensic auditors, then come back to Parliament so that if we need to tinker with the law, we do so in order to reposition the Niger Delta region. I speak as somebody who worked in Niger Delta. If I did not dualize the road, I did up to 200 kilometers in 8 years. But I can tell you that in the 19 years of the existence of the NDDC, you cannot find even 10 kilometers of dualized road. And why I need the cooperation of the Parliament is that sorry, sir, let me mention this. With a place like Warri to Sapele, for 5 kilometers only, during the rainy season, nobody can pass. A place like Elebele in
Honorable Minister.
Under 2 billion, the bridge collapsed.
That's okay.
Thank
you. We know you very well. We know you very well. So if you are giving the room, I know we will not leave here.
But I need the cooperation.
No, thank you. Honorable Idris, please. Chairman, thank you. Honorable Idris.
I need the cooperation of Parliament.
I am Honorable Kabir Al-Hassan. I represent Toranobunkura Kibe Federal Constituency, Mr. Chairman from Kano. And my question goes straight to the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, there are so many allegations and counter-allegations between your humble self as the Minister of Niger Delta and the former MD of the NDDC, Mr. Joy Nene. Nigerians want to know what caused that rift, because the attention of the entire nation was focused on you and the former MD. We would like you to shed more light on that, please.
Mr. Chairman, sir. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, sir. Mr. Chairman, sir. Mr. Chairman, sir. By federal circulars, ministers are not allowed to approve payments for parastatals. So I've directed my permanent secretary to make copies of those circulars available to you. So it is not really my business to approve payments for parastatals. But where they need to come to me when it is up to 1 billion, even at that, I must go to Federal Executive Council to go and get the proper approval. And so most of the payments that they are doing cannot come to the minister. That's number one. Then number two, I think the last question was on... Oh, sorry.
Okay, Minister, that's okay, that's okay.
No, somebody asked me a question on the former managing director. The former managing director of the NDDC was relieved of appointment when I received a letter from the then Chief of Staff, may so rest in perfect peace, that she did not possess the requisite qualifications to be there. For instance, we have written twice to the National Youth Service Corps, and twice they have insisted that she never served. So she doesn't have NYC certificate, neither does she have exemption. But I think the problem here is that we did not want to scandalize anybody.
Mr.
So what we did, I'm coming, my dear, let me answer the question. What we did was to expand the interim management and then replace the then managing director when we saw these flaws. But I pointed out on television that she was relieved of her appointment not because of anything, but because of insubordination. My permanent secretary wrote 7 letters to her, even to attend Federal Executive Council meeting on the 5th of February, to come and give a scorecard. We have what we call ministerial mandate, to give scorecard of the ministry and parastatals, and she refused to attend. She felt she was bigger than the minister, and her budget was higher than the ministry. So for insubordination, that was the reason why she was relieved of her post. But however, there were a lot of undercurrents. For instance, we didn't want to scandalize her, since she did not have she even swore to a fake affidavit that she swore to an affidavit that she had an NYC when she did not have, and so many things. So may I can present the
Honorable Minister, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Shaba Ibrahim. I represent Lokoja Kogi Federal Constituency. Honorable Minister, can you refer to the Annexure 5 to your presentation? That is the letter from the Bureau of Public Procurement. Have you seen it? Annexure 5.
I've seen it, sir.
You've seen it, sir. Can you look at the second paragraph, beginning from the Bureau of Public Procurement, having examined your request and all the documents forwarded, confirm that the projects are certified all due process requirements. Do you still maintain that you have no direct dealings in respect of contracts of the NDDC with the BPP?
Just mentioned to you, this letter is a response to NDDC application to the Bureau of Public Procurement. But of course, they have to forward it through the supervising minister. I mentioned that to you. The letter is a response to that of the NDDC, the procuring agency, because they are the ones to pay.
Honorable Minister, as a lawyer, the issue is raised. It speaks for itself. Thank you.
Mr. Minister, if you look at Annex 9 of your document submitted to us here under oath, Annex 9, your document that was submitted to us under oath here.
Yes.
I don't know if you could go through that. Annex 9 of your document, which is dated 29th of June 2020. So, Honorable Minister, have you seen the Annex 9 of it now? Have you seen it? Have you seen the document? Okay. So, can I take you on that now? Okay. From the Bureau of Public Procurement, due process certificate of no objection for the award of contract for the various consultancy services for the forensic audit of the activities of the Niger Delta Development Commission between 2001 August 2019 in favor of 9 forensic audit firms, and it was dated June 29, 2020. And the project cost as requested is 1,455,049,23500 only. I don't know, you said you've not been having any interference between the board and your ministry. That was what you told us here, but this is just dated 29th of June 2020. And it was written, or the certificate of no objection was sent to your office, and you must have followed it up with what my friend asked, my honorable colleague. You wrote to them, giving directives for the approval of this no objection certificate.
Well, it is a very long process, and we've had a lot of back and forth. We have over 9 letters to that effect. I didn't want to bother you with all. But the commencement of the procurement started with a letter from the NDDC as a procuring agency. Otherwise, they would not have a right in law to pay. And because of the fact that I am the supervising minister of the NDDC, they would write to me because I'm the one to go to Federal Executive Council with this BPP approval. And then look under, you will see where they copied the NDDC for the information, because the conclusion, the NDDC cannot go to Federal Executive Council.
Just as a follow-up, you said here under oath as well that when the president said that the board should be the ones to pay for the forensic, that you opted out as the minister of Niger Delta
No,
to allow the
I have
board
to supervise the process.
But here, as you rightly said, that the managing director, that is the acting MD, was only copied. He was only copied.
Yes.
That is, you were the one that ran the show all through.
The managing director and the NDDC commenced the process of procurement. But when no objection is given, it will come to the minister, because it is the place of the minister to take this approval to the Federal Executive Council. NDDC cannot, but the NDDC must also be informed. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not, there's nothing hidden. We are working in partnership.
Honorable Minister, sir, which of the budget was this request predicated on?
Well, if you look at
which of the budget was this request predicated on?
If you look at your the 2019 budget, for instance, the federal government had appropriated about 80 billion or so to the NDDC. If you look at the 2020 budget that became operational, the federal government also on 17 December appropriated another statutory transfer to the NDDC. If you have that budget as at January. But because of the volatility of the oil price, that has continued to go through revision. I think what is there now is about 46 billion. So on a monthly basis, the federal government does give money to the NDDC, but it stopped only in this June. Now, the processes have been on. We have not yet, before we can do an award letter, we must depend on your budget of 2020. So there is no award letter yet. And moreover, there was even a mistake from your side. When the clerk of the National Assembly forwarded a letter purportedly sending the approval of the National Assembly for a budget of 2020. So that letter, I understand, was only corrected last week. That letter was only corrected last week. And that letter has not been corrected in the sense that we still have that letter.
Yeah, okay. Honorable Minister, that's okay. That's okay. Honorable Minister.
I know you don't want to have any fault.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You don't want to have any fault.
It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kolade Akinjo is my name. Elijah the Fire Constituency. My question is this, Mr. Minister. From your submission, you had indicated that you are vested with the powers of Mr. President to supervise NDDC, Section 7.3. You alluded to that in your paper. And from what you also said, that it appears to me that you were the one who recommended IMC, the first IMC, and you were also the one who recommended the second IMC. And I'm sure you did that in pursuant to the laws establishing NDDC. How do you reconcile someone who is a medical doctor to become an executive director of project in line with section 12 sub 1A that says that the director shall have such qualification and experience as appropriate for a person required to perform the function of those offices under this act. It appears to me, Mr. Minister, that an executive director of finance and administration will be an accountant. And it also appeared to me, based on precedent, that someone that's supposed to be an executive director of project, considering the terrain, the geography, and the exigency of what you refer to as forensic auditor, how do you place a medical personnel to become an executive director of project? That's number one question. The second question, I mentioned this because I think it's important for us to ask this kind of question. The other one, sir, Mr. Minister, is that the first IMC claimed that they spent 8 billion. The current IMC, within the same space of time, is accredited to have spent about 81 billion. Under a forensic dispensation, is it wise to continually spend such humongous money under a forensic dispensation? My thinking will always be that you reduce spending and then you... Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your question is very germane. First, you are asking the qualification for the office of the Executive Director. I agree with you. But that person should be somebody who is versed in project execution. The greatest project today in the world is medical, and that is COVID-19. Even, I'm coming now, and the budget of the NDDC, the budget, my sister, please, don't be angry.
Honorable Minister, was there COVID when you appointed him?
Chairman, I want to be protected.
No, you are protected.
I want to be protected.
Was there COVID when he was appointed in the first interim?
Chairman, I want to be protected. Chairman, am I protected? Am I protected?
Honorable Minister, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for protecting me because my sister wants to eat me raw. Let me say that if you look at the year-in, year-out budget of the NDDC, 60% of the budget of NDDC every year is medical. And you also have to know that malaria has killed more children in Nigeria than even accident and than any other thing. Even before the coming of the COVID, 60% of the budget of the NDDC is medical. So who will best fit the position of executive director in NDDC than a medical doctor to go and implement the 60% of the budget? I'm not the one that does the budget. You do the budget. Do your analysis and you find out that the most fitting person that is qualified to be there is a medical doctor because of your budget. And then lastly, sir, the last question he asked was about the expenditure during this period. We cannot close down Niger Delta because of the security implications of the region. Sorry, sir. We cannot close down Niger Delta Development Commission because of the fact that we are doing forensic audit. The NDDC plays a vital role in ensuring the peace and security of the region. And 90% or more of the resources of the country on a monthly basis comes from there. If you close it down in totality, all you have will be chaos. And you have a lot of, not just militancy, but you have a lot of insurrection. So it is important that people who have gone to court, people who genuinely did jobs, should be paid for their jobs. So for me, I'm not against it because, of course, who are even the greatest beneficiaries? It's you people now. Okay. Because if you look at your chairman,
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, that's okay. That's okay.
No, can I ask you that question? What is the benefit that the National Assembly is benefiting from?
It's okay, it's okay.
Are you asking me the benefit of National Assembly?
Yes, you just said.
I just told you that we have record to show that most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. The two chairmen can explain to you. That is why I was a member. I was a member of the NDDC committee.
It's okay. It's okay.
Wait, you were a member of the NDDC and lot of you were a member of the NDDC in the 8th Assembly, and are you telling me that lots of jobs were awarded to you as a member?
No, this is a problem. That's why I said you must.
Then you have the right to accuse people. Then why can't you bring up
can you
people
listen to me? One of the chairmen
if
also.
you were not awarded a contract, then why are you coming here that you are aware that you were a member of the NDDC and lots of contracts were awarded to you? You said I'm not aware. I'm telling you that bring up those dates.
May I inform my honorable sister that is why we have to change.
Honorable Minister, please. It's okay. That is okay. That is okay.
But let me explain.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Let me explain.
It's okay.
Now.
It's okay.
You must not allow the two chairmen to handle the budget every
It's okay. Off your mic. It's okay.
Off
your mic, Honorable Minister.
You are like me. I was a member like you. I did not know what was going on.
Honorable Minister.
Yes,
it's okay.
Yes, Chairman.
It's okay. You guys sit down. Sit down. It's okay. Coco, just one or two questions.
I have just one. Thank you, Chairman. Honorable colleagues.
Yes, now just.
When we ask the question, go to the dictionary.
Mr. Chairman, do I have the floor?
Thank you, Chairman. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, I listened to you very attentively through all your submission. But I just want to tell you one thing. You came here to mislead the Parliament on your under oath. That's what you have done deliberately. I have my argument, and it should be in line with Section 20 of Public Procurement Act.
Sorry, sir.
This is your report. This is what you have presented to the committee. And look at the Annex 9, 11, 6, 10, and 8. All these correspondences are between you, Bureau, BPP, and the Ministry of Niger Delta. And you have just said, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Honorable Minister, please.
Honorable Minister, I will still repeat myself. I said you decided to just come here and mislead the Parliament. And on oath, I'm relying my argument under Section 20, Subsection 2 of Public Procurement Acts. And I want to put it to you that your submission, the way you, all the annexures, 8, 9, 10, 11, are misleading. And before then you said you have no any link of any contract between yourself and the NDDC. Your just job is just to supervise. But correspondences shows that they are giving you approval, conveyance approval of forensic auditors, contract, whatever, between you and the BPP. Chairman, I want to read, with your permission, I want to read Section 20, subsection 2 of the Public Procurement Act, which says, accounting officer of every procuring entity shall have overall responsibility for the planning, organization of tenders, evaluation of tenders, and execution of all procurement in a particular responsibility. But, Mr. Minister, you have taken over the duty as the MD, acting MD of the NDDC because of your documents. You are the producer and the author of this. But all these things are indicating that. Secondly, you are on air. You said they gave contract to the chairman of the committee in April 2019. And the chairman was appointed June. Yeah, November. He was appointed in November. But he went ahead and said, you people, the NDDC gave contract to the chairman of this committee in April, which he was not a chairman of the committee. He was not even member of the committee, talking of being a chairman. Not even member of this house.
Mr. Chairman,
not even member of this house. That's two questions I want you to respond to. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Sorry, Mr. Right Honorable Member. I think I must correct myself. I was giving an example of a contract of 10.9 billion in the chairman's place.
No, Minister.
In the chairman's
place. Let me give you your words off their mic.
We can't take questions again, please.
Your media, you said it. There are records everywhere.
What I'm saying, let me explain. I'm saying that contracts are split to a point where contracts are split to a point where it comes below the threshold of the minister's approval. That, for instance, in a contract given to the chairman's place for road construction, that it came under 950, but the total is 10.9 billion.
That's not my question, Minister.
So your question is whether
Honourable Minister,
the contract is not for the chairman.
Honourable Minister,
the contract is not for the chairman.
Honourable Minister,
the contract is not for the chairman, but the contract is for the chairman's state.
Honourable Minister, please.
And I don't know whether that is local government, you know, right?
Honourable, please, Minister, off your phone, off your listen. You said it. In 20, you said there was a contract you give to the Honourable Tunji Ojo, April 2019.
Sorry, sir. I'm referring to chairman of committees of NDDC in both houses.
We have records.
I don't talk about.
Everywhere.
Sorry, sir. May I correct you there, sir? Don't be angry. Don't mention Honourable Tunji Ojo because he was not even a member of the House of Representatives.
Why did you say that?
So why did you say that? I'm saying that a contract.
Why did you say that?
I said that's why I said maybe you misunderstood me. And
no,
I mean,
no.
If I was misunderstood, if I was misunderstood, I withdraw the statement. So please, if I was misunderstood, I was giving an example of contract splitting.
Honourable Minister.
Yes.
With this, are you telling the world? You are before camera, we are live. Are you telling the world that you have not said and you have never said NDDC gave contract to Honourable Tunji Ojo in April 2019?
Please, Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
No.
Honourable Minister, please, let's answer this question.
Which one? The contract for
Honourable Tunji Ojo for April 2019.
No. I said for his place. I don't think the NDDC has given a contract directly to Honourable Ojo because before you can say that, you must be sure that contract is given to his company.
That's okay.
If it is not given to his company, you cannot say that.
Okay.
That's okay.
You can't make such an allegation.
It's okay.
That's
okay. It's okay.
Mr. Chairman.
It's okay.
Nobody can make such an allegation unless you are sure.
Minister, it's okay. It's okay. Minister. Yes. Yes. Honourable Minister. Next member. Huh?
Mr. Chairman.
The questions are okay.
No, there's no person.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask...
Honorable Minister. Then wait. Honorable Minister. How much have you paid to the forensic auditors?
Mr. Chairman, I can't pay. It is the NDDC that will pay the forensic auditors. I don't know. But I can find out for you and send it later. I can find out how much the NDDC has paid. Anytime there is procurement beyond 1 billion, it must pass through the Ministry of Niger Delta. And let me also tell you another thing, sir. The procurement law itself also talks about supplies. Supplies as well as normal contracts. No. So there are different grades of contracts. And so if it's above the threshold of the NDDC, it must pass through the Ministry of Niger Delta.
Honorable Minister, sir.
All right,
the forensic audit.
Thank you.
The forensic audit was the basis at which Mr. President set up the IMC. Correct?
Correct.
And you are supervising the commission, NDDC. Correct?
Correct.
How much has NDDC paid for the forensic audit?
In my opinion, the amount approved by the Federal Executive Council for the forensic auditors was 318 million. And therefore, for the payment in line with due process, I would think they will start by paying 15% of that. But I'm not sure. So because I'm under oath, I have to cross-check with the NDDC.
You are not aware how much NDDC has paid for the forensic audit? I'm not aware of how much
they pay, but they will have to pay in line with the law.
Okay. Question number 2. This IMC has spent 81.5 billion, correct?
I don't know. I just said it here.
You are not aware?
Definitely I'm not aware. I just said it here. In fact, there is something that you mentioned, Clearpoint Communication, that they paid 641 million. I wrote to them when I saw it on social media for them to explain. And the MD wrote back to me because I wanted to know. I have a lot of correspondence in that direction. But because you are investigating, it wasn't my business. I also have to know because I need to also brief members of the Presidential Monitoring Committee. So I wrote to the Managing Director and he sent me a response. Would you like to see the response?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have a few questions, very quick one. Do you know the company called RONAP, Nigeria Limited?
Yes, sir.
When you were governor, this company worked in Akpabio State, yes or no?
I wouldn't know because normally I had major contractors.
So how do you know them now since you didn't know them then? Because you just acknowledged that you know them.
I know them as the contractors
that work for you in Akpabio State.
They did not only work in Akpabio State. That company.
Did you pay that company 100%? Did you pay that company 100% for the headquarters building?
How can I pay 100%? Was the headquarters building...
when is yet to be completed?
Sorry. May I mention this, sir? So that we don't misunderstand each other. The headquarters building of the NDDC was awarded to 2 companies, Recon and Rodnap, in 2016, in the sum of about 16 billion. The initial contractor was called Marshland Nigeria Limited. So the federal government negotiated with that initial contractor. And then on the recommendation of the NDDC, they paid off that initial contractor the sum of 500 million.
Okay, you've answered the question.
I'm coming. The Federal Executive Council approved the completion of the building in the sum of 16 billion. And then they went ahead.
Honorable Minister, please, let's not waste time. Let's go ahead.
Honorable Minister.
Trying to avoid that seat. Is that avoiding? Call the platform. Did the minister tell us any
Okay, let's put the minister on oath. Let's administer the oath.
I, Senator Godswil Akpabio, do solemnly swear that the evidence I shall give before this honorable committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Mr. Chairman, sir. Is it possible to clear the door so that at least some air can come in here, since the air condition has failed?
Open the door, please.
No, so
Sergeant at arm, open the door. Open the door.
May I appeal to those who are there to give us chance? Find a place at the back there because we need a little bit of air here. Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the committee, should I sit or should I stand? Do I stand up or do I sit down?
No, you can rest.
I can sit.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to recognize you and members of the committee on the investigation.
Honorable Minister, please, we are not going to waste much time here. What we need, you came with some documents, you lay the document before us, then speak in maybe about 10 to 15 minutes on the document, then members will have 1 or 2 questions, then we'll be good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm a former minority leader of the Nigerian Senate, and I believe in justice. Since this proceeding started, I have seen where 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes 1 hour, 30 minutes, have been given to some people to pour invectives on my person as the minister. I have children. There's no way I can come before you, and I'm teleguided to speak for 10 or 15 minutes. With all the allegations going around, the world is watching us. There will be no fairness at all. Now, you have been given the opportunity to sit as chairman. The former chairman has stepped aside. He should have stepped aside right from the beginning because it's part and parcel of the problem of the NDDC. So what I'm saying is, from a position, I'm coming, my dear. Let me just make my point. I don't know if I'm giving the floor.
You know the rule.
Mr. Chairman, we are not talking about the chairman stepping aside here. He has taken his oath. He should speak to his document if there is any. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister, please, that point of order is sustained.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, whilst I'm going to speak to my document, I believe that legally speaking, these proceedings ought to start de novo. Because when I came, you gave us a summary of what has transpired in the past. So long as the chairman has now recused himself, you should have started the proceedings de novo. It should have been de novo. That's the truth. Because whatever we do in the parliament,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
it is subject to judicial review. It's subject to judicial review because the reason why the chairman stepped aside was because we are alleged from day one that there will be no fairness. Since the two chairmen, both in the Senate and the House of Representatives, are part and parcel of the problem of the NDDC.
Point of order.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Honourable Minister, Senator Godswil Akpabio, former governor of Akpabio, Dr. Cairo, we are not in the market square. Everybody knows. We are not in the market square. You are talking, Mr. Cairo is interrupting. Mr. Cairo, we did not call you to make any presentation. We call your MD to make presentation. In pursuance to Section 20 of Public Procurement Act. So nobody give you every room to talk. Allow the minister to talk. When it's done, whatever he intends to say. But we want him to speak to the document he came, make presentation, then we ask question. We don't have to waste time. If you want to take like 10 hours free, talk. But talk to the document. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Oh, okay. Honorable Minister, I think you heard the speaker very well. That what we are doing here has nothing to do with any situation of embarrassing anybody. Honorable Minister, please. What we are in is not intended to wish on anybody, and is also intended to embarrass anybody. You are from Niger Delta, the Minister of Niger Delta of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those of us this side are elected by you people. So we're here as brothers and sisters to find out what happened. So, therefore, the issue before us, we must confine ourselves to the investigation, which is the main issue before us. Whatever happened, whether we have to start de novo and all of that, is not supposed to come in, Mr. Honorable Minister. So let's start. You have the documents. Present these documents, speak to the documents, then one or two questions will come in, then we are done. So we are not here to wish out anybody. So let's start with that, Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable colleagues, for the guidance. The Permanent Secretary, please avail the chairman of my own document. If you have not done so, we have sent it to the Secretariat. So I will just attempt to go through my document. First, let me thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. And the unfortunate incident notwithstanding, I thank one of your members. I don't know the name because since we are all wearing masks to the exam, it's very difficult to know who is who. I thank one of your members who cited the fact that the acting MD was almost gone. And I pray that he recovers soon. I also thank His Excellency, the Speaker, my brother Femi Gbajamila, for coming here to console with the committee over the unfortunate incident. And I pray that all of us here will not have COVID as a result of the crowded space and the lack of ventilation and the failure of the air conditioning. I was appointed Minister of the
Honorable Minister, sir,
on the 21st of August to oversee.
Honorable Minister, sir.
Of Public Procurement Acts. And I want to put it to you that your submission, the way you, all the annexures, 8, 9, 10, 11, are misleading. And before then you said you have no any link of any contract between yourself and the NDDC. You are just job is just to supervise. But correspondences shows that they are giving you approval, conveyance approval of forensic auditors, contract, whatever, between you and the BVP. Chairman, I want to read, with your permission, I want to read Section 20, subsection 2 of the Public Procurement Act, which says, accounting officer of every procuring entity shall have overall responsibility for the planning, organization of tenders, evaluation of tenders, and execution of all procurement in a particular responsibility. But, Mr. Minister, you have taken over the duty as the MD, acting MD of the NDDC because of your documents. You are the producer and the author of this. But all these things are indicating that. Secondly, you are on air. You said they gave contract to the chairman of the committee in April 2019. And the chairman was appointed June. Yeah, November. He was appointed in November. But he went ahead and said, you people, the NDDC gave contract to the chairman of this committee in April, which he was not a chairman of the committee. He was not even member of the committee, talking of being a chairman. Not even member of this house.
Mr. Chairman,
not even member of this house. That's two questions I want you to respond to. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Sorry, Mr. Right Honorable Member. I think I must correct myself. I was giving an example of a contract of 10.9 billion in the chairman's place.
No, Minister.
In the chairman's
place. Let me give you your words off their mic.
We can't take questions again, please.
They are on media. You said it. There are records everywhere.
What I'm saying, let me explain. I'm saying that contracts are split to a point where contracts are split to a point where it comes below the threshold of the minister's approval. That, for instance, in a contract given to the chairman's place for road construction, that it came under 950, but the total is 10.9 billion.
That's not my question.
So your question is whether
Honourable Minister,
the contract is not for the chairman.
Honourable Minister,
the contract is not for the chairman.
Honourable Minister,
the contract is not for the chairman, but the contract is for the chairman's state.
Honourable Minister, please.
And I don't know whether
Honourable
it's local government, you know, right?
Honourable, please, Minister, off your phone, off your listen. You said it. In 20, you said there was a contract you give to the Honourable Tunji Ojo, April 2019.
Sorry, sir. I'm referring to chairman of committees of NDDC in both houses.
We have records.
I don't
records
talk about
everywhere.
Sorry, sir. May I correct you there, sir? Don't be angry. Don't mention Honorable Tunji Ojo because he was not even a member of the House of Representatives.
Why did you say that?
So
why did you say that?
I'm saying that a contract.
Why did you say that?
That's why I said maybe you misunderstood me. And
no.
If I was misunderstood, if I was misunderstood, I withdraw the statement. So please, if I was misunderstood,
Minister,
I was giving an example of contract splitting.
Honourable Minister.
Yes.
With this, are you telling the world? You are before camera were alive. Are you telling the world that you have not said and you have never said NDDC gave contract to Honorable Tunji Ojo in April 2019?
Please, Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Honorable Minister, please, let's answer this question.
Which one? The contract for
Honorable Tunji Ojo for April 2019.
No. I said for his place. I don't think the NDDC has given a contract directly to Honorable Ojo because before you can say that, you must be sure that contract is given to his company.
That's okay.
If it is not given to his company, you cannot say that.
Okay.
That's okay.
You can't make such an allegation.
It's okay.
That's
okay. It's okay.
Mr. Chairman.
That's okay. It's okay.
Nobody can make such an allegation unless you are sure.
Minister, it's okay. It's okay. Minister. Yes. Yes. Honorable Minister. Next member.
Mr. Chairman.
The questions are okay. No,
Mr. Chairman, may I ask?
Honorable Minister. Then wait. Honorable Minister. How much have you paid to the forensic auditors?
Mr. Chairman, I can't pay. It is the NDDC that will pay the forensic auditors. I don't know. But I can find out for you and send it later. I can find out how much the NDDC has paid. Anytime there is procurement beyond 1 billion, it must pass through the Ministry of Niger Delta. And let me also tell you another thing, sir. The procurement law itself also talks about supplies. Supplies as well as normal contracts. No. So there are different grades of contracts. And so if it's above the threshold of the NDDC, it must pass through the Ministry of Niger Delta.
Honorable Minister, sir.
Right,
the forensic audit.
Thank you.
The forensic audit was the basis at which Mr. President set up the IMC. Correct?
Correct.
And you are supervising the commission, NDDC. Correct?
Correct.
How much has NDDC paid for the forensic audit?
In my opinion, the amount approved by the Federal Executive Council for the forensic auditors was 318 million. And therefore, for the payment, it's in line with due process. I would think they will start by paying 15% of that. But I'm not sure. So because I'm under oath, I have to cross-check with the NDDC.
You are not aware how much NDDC has paid for the forensic audit? I'm not aware of how much
they pay, but they will have to pay in line with the law.
Okay. Question number 2. This IMC has spent 81.5 billion, correct?
I don't know. I just said it here.
You are not aware?
Definitely I'm not aware. I just said it here. In fact, there is something that you mentioned, Clearpoint Communication, that they paid 641 million. I wrote to them when I saw it on social media for them to explain. And the MD wrote back to me because I wanted to know. I have a lot of correspondence in that direction. But because you are investigating, it wasn't my business. I also have to know because I need to also brief members of the Presidential Monitoring Committee. So I wrote to the managing director and he sent me a response. Would you like to see the response?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have a few questions, very quick one. Do you know the company called Ronap, Nigeria Limited?
Yes, sir.
When you were governor, this company worked in Akpabio State, yes or no?
I wouldn't know because normally I had major contractors.
So how do you know them now since you didn't know them then? Because you just acknowledged that you know them.
I know them as the contractors
that work for you. That work for you in Akpabio State.
They did not only work in Akpabio State. That company.
Did you pay that company 100%? Did you pay that company 100% for the headquarters building?
How can I pay 100%? Was the headquarters building...
when is yet to be completed?
Sorry. May I mention this, sir? So that we don't misunderstand each other. The headquarters building of the NDDC was awarded to two companies, Recon and Rodnap, in 2016, in the sum of about 16 billion. The initial contractor was called Marshland Nigeria Limited. So the federal government negotiated with that initial contractor. And then on the recommendation of the NDDC, they paid off that initial contractor the sum of 500 million.
Okay, you've answered the question.
I'm coming. The Federal Executive Council approved the completion of the building in the sum of 16 billion. And then they went ahead.
Honorable Minister, please, let's not waste time. Let's go ahead.
Honorable Minister, please. Honorable Minister, please.
When you answer the question...
The question to you is a direct question.
Direct question.
Answer the question direct.
But I just told you that I'm not involved in the payment of imparatatals. That question is for NDDC.
Okay, that's okay.
Honorable Minister, did the FEC approve the appointment of the lead consultant for forensic auditing or forensic auditing for the 9 consultants, auditors that you presented? What was that approval for?
Was it for the lead consultant or for the whole consultant?
The appointment of the lead consultant. Then the 9 consultants are still pending in fact. Okay. The other forensic auditor.
Thank you. You've answered. So it means that only the lead consultant has been approved, and excuse me, please. And the other one has not been approved. And it is the duty. And it is the duty of the lead consultant to recruit the remainder of the auditors. Yes or no?
That has been completed.
Please, it is the duty of the lead consultant to employ the remaining auditors. Yes or no?
To do the procurement of the remaining auditors. That has been completed. I told you the exercise on forensic is completed.
No, you are not answering my question. I said you went to FEC and you got approval. That approval, was it for the forensic auditing or for the lead consultant who has his duties specified by the mandate that you use in hiring him? There are two different issues.
When you talk about lead forensic auditor, it means that the person is the forensic auditor of NDDC. But it's also to lead those who will go to the states. I mentioned that we have 10 lots, and that what we need now are 9 consultants. And so that is before the Federal Executive Council.
He has been energized to hire the other auditors, which means that the work of the forensic auditing has not started because he has not hired them.
Honorable Minister, please. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister.
Please give us direct answer. You said here that the forensic auditing has started.
Yes.
And we are saying you want to FED and FED gave you approval. BPP came here and said that the objection, no objection the game was given in error. Because it was based on 2020 budget. And you have a very enlightening document here from the former clerk of the National Assembly. Has been finalized based on the fact approval. Yes or no? No, and yes.
No, academic. Honorable Minister. No, and yes. This guy is a criminal. Please, guide this guy. He's not giving stories.
To collect the information of the project that were abandoned by 12,000 of them in the last 9 years.
Let me ask you another question. During your introduction, you said there are 3 contracts that you took to FEC. But it does not mean that those 3 contracts are that is what you said. You said you took
No, this one, so they have answered this question before.
You said the threshold is 1 billion. You said that here?
This, these questions are okay. They're okay. Let me take the last one. Let me take the last one.
They told us that it should be between 250 million to 300 million.
It's normal. We were somewhere this weekend. We were somewhere before we came to National Assembly. Which project? Like, what is the handbook? It's round up. It's really assuming estimate. Chairman, take over.
No, it's okay. See, it's Peter that's asking this question. So let's close. Okay.
We have to close, yeah.
While you are thinking about that, also remember that it was mentioned by the certificate of no objection that this certificate of no objection was the basis of 2020 budget. It is also important for Nigerians to know that 2020 budget has not been passed. About NDDC, it has not been passed.
Close this matter. Close this matter. Let's call it. Let's call it already. Close it. Close this matter.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, please off your mic. Off your mic.
Last question. Don't do. Then we hold microphone and Chairman, take charge and close this.
I want to close this here. This thing is okay. It's okay.
I want to leave. This place is toxic.
Now it's number 2 and says 18, 621, 646, 356. Why only 50%?
People are living.
So why is it 50%?
I don't know what it is.
Sectoral analysis.
About when I tell him, I will not allow him to talk again. No, talk to him. Ben, tell him it's okay. Don't talk. Chairman, close this and let's leave here. You should close now. Chairman, take over.
Wait, we're closing now.
Take over.
Okay, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister. That's okay. Off your mic. Honorable Minister, our invitees, I want to thank you, Honorable Minister, for finding time to come here today to share light on this document that you have presented to this committee. You have done very well. You have been here since morning. I think you agree with us at the end of this your presentation that the committee is not here to shunt anybody. It's more or less like an interactive section. Also, to give you the opportunity for us to hear your own side of the story. So it is fair hearing that we are doing, and we pray that as you leave here, the good direction you intend to give NDDC, you will continue to do it for the interest and generality of Nigeria, particularly the Niger Delta people whom we are here to serve. On that note, I want to thank you for finding time to be here, and may God bless you and your team as you go back to your various offices. Thank you, and God bless you.